everyone, it's Haley, and today I'm going to be doing my August wrap-up. So August was a really odd reading month for me because while I did read a bunch of books that I enjoyed and I was able to read a lot, I ended up reading 9 books total, which is the most that I've read in a really long time, and I'm really happy about that. But at the same time, there were quite a few books that I read that were just kind of disappointments to me. They didn't really stand out and I ended up giving them lower ratings, and those are kind of outweighing, my bad opinion of those is kind of outweighing the ones that I really enjoyed. So I don't know, I'm very mixed on how August went, but yeah, I'm just gonna get into what I read this month, and as per usual, if I have a review for any of these, it will be linked down below for you guys. So the first book that I wanted to talk about, I'm actually not done yet, and that is The Constant Princess by Philippa Gregory. I decided to finally pick up some Philippa Gregory because I was saying that I was kind of in the mood for something about the English monarchy and like princesses and royalty and all that stuff, and a bunch of you guys were recommending Philippa Gregory to me, and I had been meaning to get to her, but I was kind of putting it off, so I just decided that why not just start now. This is the first book in her Tudor Court series, so I decided to start with this one. I'm not sure if I'm going to read them all in order. I'm definitely after this one going to pick up the other Boleyn Girl because I know that's everyone's favorites, but I'm not very far into this, so I really don't know how I feel about it yet, but I am excited to delve more into it. So now getting into the books that I actually finished this month, the first book that I was able to finish this month is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child by J.K. Rowling, John Tiffany, and Jack Thorne. So this is the 8th Harry Potter book. It's the play script that they released, and I have done a review for this one, so I'll link it down below. I read it like right away when it came out, and I wasn't a huge fan of this one. I didn't really like it very much. There were a few redeeming qualities, but most of it I just felt like was inconsistent, and it just wasn't what I was hoping for. I was aware that it was a play script before it was released, and because of that, my expectations were pretty low because I knew that it wasn't going to be like the rest of the series. But that being said, even my low expectations were kind of let down, so I ended up giving this a 2 out of 5 stars. I know a lot of people have really enjoyed it, which I'm really glad that not everyone feels like this was such a letdown, but for me it just didn't really hit the mark. It kind of just went way past it, and I just feel like this is not really part of the Harry Potter canon in my opinion because it just wasn't up to par with the rest of the series. After that, I picked up Second Chance Summer by Morgan Matson. I finally read this book. This has been on so many of my monthly TBRs, and I just have never picked it up. I have no clue why, but I decided that this summer I had to pick it up because I'm all caught up with Morgan Matson's books other than this one, so now I'm finally all caught up with them, and I did really enjoy this one. It's not my favorite out of her books. I think my favorite is The Unexpected Everything or Amy and Roger's Epic Detour. Those two are kind of tied, but that being said, I did really enjoy this one. This one kind of goes more of the emotional route, with the main character's father having cancer and they're going back to their summer house, so she's kind of revisiting her past and she's a completely different person now because she's much older, so I think it was interesting to see her revisiting her past as an older person and seeing all of the people that she used to spend her days with as a kid and kind of interacting with them. It's one of those books where there's kind of things, and Morgan Matson does this a lot, there's something big that happened but she's kind of hiding it from you, so when it's finally revealed you feel like, yes, finally I know what's going on, but I do like the way that she does that, and this book was no exception. I ended up giving this one a 5 out of 5 stars. I really love Morgan Matson, and this one, like, I don't usually cry when I'm reading books because I'm not really an emotional person, but this one just made me cry. Like, I knew what was coming, but it still made me cry. It was just so sad, but it was a really great story. After that, I picked up The Conspiracy of Us by Maggie Hall. I picked this up because Ginger reads Lainey. She absolutely loved this book, and I consider any book that she loves to be like a rarity, like really high praise, because she is ruthless with her reviews, which I absolutely adore. So when she said she really enjoyed this one, I knew I had to pick it up, and I actually ended up really enjoying this. I went into it not really knowing much about it, but I was pleasantly pleasantly surprised. I was a little bit apprehensive going into it, but the story is very unique and I thought it was action-packed. Like right from the beginning, you start off with the action and you travel to Paris, you travel to Istanbul, which was really cool. I love books where you travel. It just makes me very happy, especially because I went to Paris this past year, so I was like, oh, I know where that is, and it was just really fun to kind of revisit it in this book. And it's honestly, like, it's kind of about the conspiracy theory where there are certain really powerful people who are controlling everything that happens in the world, but you don't really know who it is. So it focuses in on that conspiracy theory, and I think it's really interesting to read a book about that. And you see the main character's world kind of being turned upside down, and it was really interesting to see her reacting to all of that. I will be doing a review for this. I'm not sure if it will be, no, it definitely won't be up when this video is up, but whenever it is, I will link it down below for you guys. And overall, I ended up giving this one a 4 out of 5 stars. After that, I picked up The Hidden Oracle by Rick Riordan. This is the first book in the Trials of Apollo series that he has started, and I haven't read Rick Riordan in a really long time. The last book that I read by him was, I read the Heroes of Olympus series, and I do have the Magnus Chase, the first book in that one, but I just haven't picked it up yet for whatever reason. But I decided to pick this one up because it's pretty short, so I figured it was a good way to jump back into the world of Rick Riordan, and I did really enjoy this one. I didn't enjoy it quite as much as the Percy Jackson series and Heroes of Olympus series, but that being said, I found that reading from the perspective of a god, especially like Apollo, was so funny and it was just really enjoyable. Rick Riordan has a way of like writing educationally, but at the same time, it's like amusing. So I think it's really great for, especially in the middle grade genre, because kids are learning, but at the same time they're having tons of fun with it. Like, these books just make me laugh out loud all the time. Like, I knew it was going to be a fun read, and reading from the perspective of a god was just awesome. I loved Apollo because he just, like, you kind of got to see the kinks in his armor, even though he is a god, so he's like this almighty figure who's all full of himself, but you got to see kind of past that, which I thought was really great. And you got to see him as a teenage boy, which, like, he was not happy with that predicament, but I felt like the story was really realistic, and Rick Riordan is really great at using his popularity to kind of spread really important messages and tackle some really important things that kids are going to encounter in their life, and he addresses them in his books, which I love. I love the fact that he's able to take those controversial subjects and include them in his books. So this one was definitely a great one, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. After that, I picked up The Girl from Everywhere by Heidi Heelig. This book was on my most anticipated releases for spring, I believe, spring or summer 2016, and I just felt like the concept sounded so cool. I mean, it's pirates who, if they have, like, the girl's father, if he has a map, then he can travel to wherever the map is, no matter if it's a real world or a fictional world. It's just a recipe for a success, like going to fictional worlds and going to real worlds, but the travel wasn't really very prevalent in this story, if that makes sense. This book is pretty similar to Passenger by Alexandra Bracken, and my feelings for it are pretty similar to that as well. I had very high expectations. I thought we were going to be traveling all over the world, but you kind of stay stagnant for most of the story, and I just felt like the characters I had a really hard time connecting with. There was just something missing. I will be doing a review for this. It won't be out at the time of this video, but whenever it is, I'll link it down below. That will really get into depth in my thoughts, but it was just kind of a disappointment. I just didn't really feel for the characters, and I felt like it was just a very slow story that could have been so much more. Like, it had so much potential, but ultimately I was let down. So I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5 stars. Next up after that, I finally finished Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I've been reading this for the past probably month or so. I've been reading it for a really long time, and I finally ended up finishing it this month. It just took me a really long time. Like, it's a pretty dense story. It is really enjoyable, but at the same time, it takes a lot out of you to read it, but I'm really glad that I have read it. I loved it. I loved Jane, and I loved her relationship with Rochester, and seeing her just kind of in, I believe it's Victorian England. I always say Victorian England, and then half the time it's probably not, but I think it's Victorian England because she's a governess. But anyways, I loved the world that she was in and her perspective of things. It was kind of humorous because, like, it's kind of, I feel like, a play on the Gothic, which I just really enjoy, books that are kind of satirizing like the gothic novel because I think gothic novels are funny, but I did find this to be really enjoyable, and overall I'm really excited to read more from the Brontes because this was my first experience delving into the Brontes, so I'm looking forward to reading more, and I ended up giving this a 5 out of 5 stars. Next, I picked up P.S. I Like You by Casey West. I picked this up because it came in my August Owl crate. I'll link that unboxing below for you guys as well. I always love getting owl crates, and I was excited to see this book because I've heard really great things about Casey West, and I was kind of in the mood for just an easy, quick, fluffy contemporary, and this seemed perfect. And Casey West is apparently, as I've heard, really good at just fluffy contemporaries, but I didn't really like this book very much at all. I just didn't connect with the characters. It didn't really draw me in. I had really a lot of trouble wanting to pick up the book and see what happened next. It wasn't really a page turner or anything, and it's not that I was expecting a page turner like thriller, but when I'm reading a cute and fluffy contemporary, I liked, like, it's almost a page turner because I want to know what's going to happen to the couple, if they're going to stay together, like what's going on. Like, it's just kind of this angst-filled romance, but I didn't really get that in this book. I just felt like I didn't like the characters, and I liked aspects of it, but overall I was really disappointed, and I had a really hard time finishing it because it just didn't really do anything for me. Like, it's not a matter of not liking it, I guess. I didn't like it, but I didn't not like it either. It's just kind of in between. It doesn't really stand out to me at all. So I am planning on giving more of Casey West a try. I know she has a book coming out in the fall that sounds really awesome. It's about a girl and a guy who are stuck in a library together, so that sounds amazing. So I think I'm going to give that one a try, but overall this one just wasn't for me. So I ended up giving it a 2 or 2.5 out of 5 stars. And the last book that I ended up reading in August is The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. I always want to say The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway, but that is not this book. This is the second book by Nicola Yoon. Her first book, Everything Everything, came out last year and people absolutely loved it. I really enjoyed it, but I did have mixed feelings on the ending. I went into this one, I was sent this one for review by Penguin Random House, so thank you so much to them for sending this to me. I went into this one not knowing anything about it. I just knew that I wanted to read it, and I ended up really, really loving it. I loved that it tackled issues of race. It has an interracial couple, so we have a Jamaican American girl and then a Korean American boy, and I found that seeing them interact was awesome, and it really brought the issues of race to the forefront, and I loved that because that is a really prevalent issue, but at the same time it deals with kind of the idea of fate and love at first sight, and they spend one day together and they're falling in love over the course of this one day, and you're constantly questioning like if they're going to be able to stay together because the main girl is going to be deported after this one day, so you don't know if she can like get past that, if she's able to stay in America. There are just so many factors working against this couple, but they keep on coming together despite that, and I just loved this romance. It was so cute, but it really was, it wasn't just cute and fluffy, it had some substance to it, which was awesome, and I think this book is going to be a smash hit, just like Everything Everything. I enjoyed this one even more than Everything Everything. It was just so fantastic, and I will be doing a review for it very soon. So I ended up giving this a 5 out of 5 stars, in case you couldn't tell. So that is all for my August wrap up. Let me know if you have read any of these books, your thoughts on them. Like I said, it was kind of a mixed reading month because, well, there were quite a few books that I really, really enjoyed. There were quite a few that also kind of disappointed me and just didn't really do much for me. So it's kind of an in-the-middle reading month, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I would rather that than have a really bad reading month. But yeah, don't forget to check the down bar if you wanted to watch any reviews, see if I've posted them yet, because I haven't filmed in a really long time, so I had a bunch of videos scheduled, but now I have run out of videos that are scheduled, so I'm getting back into filming. This is the first video that I'm filming, and then this weekend I'm going to film a bunch of reviews and all that stuff. So I will have the reviews up soon, they're just not up yet, but some of them have already been published, so definitely check down below if you wanted to check any of them out. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!